Jason steps back from Britt, and Port Charles feels the distance. Oh, darlings, this first story is one that is going to sting a little, because when two people have something real between them and the circumstances of life pull them in different directions, even the most understanding heart feels the absence. Jason is back. Britt is back. And the reunion that so many people were hoping for is not happening. At least not yet. And possibly not at all in the way anyone imagined. Let us think through what Jason is actually carrying right now. He came home from Jakarta looking like a man who had been through something that left marks on the inside and the outside. The torture was real. The isolation was real. The months of darkness with nothing but his own thoughts for company. All of it real. And what those months clarified for him, in the particular way that suffering clarifies things, is that the choices he made before he left were not always the right ones. Here is something that needs to be said, honestly. Jason went to that pier because of Britt. He was there trying to help her, again, in a chain of circumstances that ultimately put him in the wrong place at the wrong moment when the WSB came down. That is not Britt's fault. She did not ask for any of what happened to her. The situation was constructed by people with far more power and far darker intentions than either of them. But Jason, sitting in that cell in Jakarta with nothing to do but review the decisions that led him there, he is aware of the thread that connects those events. And he is aware of something else. Danny does not have a mother anymore. Jason is the only parent that boy has. And the choice to leave with Britt, even if it was only supposed to be temporary, even if every intention was to come back, that choice risked Danny losing his only remaining parent. Looking at that from inside a black site in Indonesia, it probably felt very different than it did in the moment the decision was made. So Jason is pulling back. Not with anger directed at Britt specifically, but with a clarity about what his life needs to look like going forward that simply does not have space right now for the complications their relationship carries. He went straight to Danny when he landed. He left town with Danny before telling almost anyone he was back. And when he returns, the people he makes his rounds with are family and close friends, not necessarily Britt. She is going to notice the distance. Of course she is. But Britt is also someone who has been doing her own reckoning. Her entire future has been handed back to her in ways she never expected. She has things to figure out about who she is and what she wants that have nothing to do with Jason. And eventually, whether through the new chapter opening between her and Tristan, or through her own journey back to herself, she may find that the distance, while painful, is also something she needed. Jason comes home to his roots, and Port Charles meets a changed man. Now, darlings, let's talk about what this homecoming actually means for Jason's identity, because the show is pointing towards something that feels genuinely significant. Not just a man choosing to be a better father, though that matters enormously. Something deeper. Something about who Jason Morgan actually is underneath the leather jacket and the reputation and the decades of loyalty to a dangerous life. He came back looking like a shell of the man who left. That is a hard thing to see. It is also not the end of a story. It is the beginning of a different chapter. Because what the captivity broke open was not just Jason's body or his sense of safety. It broke open something that has been sitting buried for decades. The question of who Jason Quartermain was before an accident changed everything. The man he might have been. The family he belongs to by blood, even if he has spent most of his adult life keeping a careful distance from that identity. He is living at the Quartermain mansion now. He and Tracy have grown genuinely closer. And Tracy, who is sharp enough to see exactly what is happening and caring enough to not make it more complicated than it needs to be, helped him get the time with Danny he needed without question or condition. There are 3 things driving Jason's change, and they are all connected. Danny needs a father, a real one, present and consistent, and not constantly one crisis away from disappearing. The mob life has a cost that Jason has been paying for years in ways he convinced himself were acceptable, and he no longer finds them acceptable. And the Quartermain identity, the roots that were taken from him by an accident and that he has been circling around ever since, may finally be something he is ready to step toward rather than away from. This does not mean Jason in a suit. Nobody is expecting that, and the show is not suggesting it. But it might mean Jason making choices that align more with who he was born to be than who he was remade into. Quieter choices. More intentional ones. Choices that put Danny at the center of a life that is worth living rather than constantly worth risking. Port Charles is going to meet a Jason Morgan they have never quite seen before when he comes back with Danny. And how everyone responds to that, Sunny most of all, is going to be one of the defining storylines of the fall. Jacinda in danger, and Willow blamed for something she did not do. And now, darlings, we close this week with a rumor. And it is the kind of rumor that, once you hear it, you cannot stop turning over in your mind because every piece of it fits together in a way that is genuinely alarming. There are whispers circulating that Jacinda may be in serious danger. Fatal danger. And the name being attached to the blame for it is Willow's. Let us sit with the history here for a moment. Michael has not had an easy time in love. The women he has cared about have not always come through their connection to him unscathed. The pattern is real, and it is painful, and Port Charles has noticed it. Jacinda came into his world at a point when Michael genuinely needed something hopeful to hold on to. She has a complicated past, but she has been working at Crimson and trying to build something legitimate. Michael has been happy in the particular quiet way that people are happy when they finally stop expecting the other shoe to drop. And now the shoe may be dropping in the worst possible way. If Jacinda is killed and the evidence points toward Willow, or if Michael witnesses something between the two women and draws the logical but wrong conclusion, the fallout is going to be enormous. Because Willow is absolutely a logical person of interest given everything she has been doing and everything that has been circling her. The police would look at her first. Michael might look at her first. But the leaker is specific about something important. Willow did not do this. Which means someone else did. Someone who either had their own reasons for targeting Jacinda, or someone who wanted to hurt both Michael and Willow simultaneously with one terrible act. And who in Port Charles has been sitting with months of building rage, with every reason to want to hurt both of them, and enough time to construct something with layers that point away from themselves.
Drew.
That name is sitting right at the center of this theory in a way that is impossible to ignore.
Drew knows what Willow did to him.
Drew has been trapped, silenced, humiliated, kept imprisoned in his own body by someone who is supposed to be his partner. The anger that has been building in that man, quiet and focused, and with nowhere to go, could have found an outlet that nobody expected. And the cruelest, most precise form of revenge he could imagine might be exactly this. Take something precious from Michael, frame Willow for it, and watch both of them burn from a safe distance. Whether this theory holds or whether Jacinda's fate comes from somewhere completely unexpected, the fact that it is even a possibility tells you everything about where this summer's storylines are heading. Darker, more complicated, with consequences that reach further than anyone playing the game can fully see. Port Charles is building towards something that is going to change the landscape of the city in ways none of the characters are prepared for. Jason coming home softer and more intentional than the man who left. Britt navigating a future that looks nothing like her plan. And Jacinda standing in the path of something that had nothing to do with her personally, and everything to do with the war happening around the people she loves.